Welcome back, everybody. It's good to be home from my vacation. It's another episode of QUACKAST. So, because I've been away for so long, we have 5 games to go over, but I'm going to do them very briefly so this video isn't 5 years long. Sound good?
Nope.
Let's get to it. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for all of the latest terror-free content. And before we get into the games, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. I'm shooting this video on December the 25th. Hope everybody is doing very well out there and celebrating Christmas with family and loved ones. Now let's talk about our games. So the Ducks currently, like every other NHL team, are on the Christmas break. But before the break occurred, we had quite a few games, and I say that because obviously I was away for quite a few of those games. The night before we left for our trip, the Ducks played the Montreal Canadiens, and they won that game in regulation. What? The first time on the road, they win a game in regulation, and they won the game 5-2. The big story in that game was John Klingberg with 2 goals in that game, somehow, and then that Saturday in Edmonton on the 17th, the Ducks won again in regulation. Lukas Dostal coming up big once again in that game, 4-3, and John Klingberg won that game as well.
Impossible.
So at that time, John Klingberg was really hot and one of our best scoring offensive defensemen. And then, as we get in to the 20th, the Ducks are on the road in Los Angeles at the Crypto Arena to play the Kings, and they lose 4-1. And a big story in that game is after Frank Vatrano tied the game on the power play, somehow scoring a power play goal and coached by Dallas Eakins, he decides to chirp the bench of the Kings, which, even though I'd love to talk the Kings if I could, that turned out to be some bad karma, because after that the Ducks basically didn't try for the rest of the game, and they would proceed to lose 4-1 and barely put up any shots on the backup goalie in his 7th start of the season, Phoenix Copley, from North Pole, Alaska. Wait, if he's from the North Pole, that means he's Santa Claus, right?
Are you sure about that?
North Pole. That didn't work.
Correct.
So Ducks lose 4-1 as Copley rises like a phoenix, guides his team to a win over us. Next game, back-to-backs against the Minnesota Wild. Mason McTavish with a great goal against Marc-Andre Fleury on a breakaway. But from that game, if you watched episode 12 of this season of QUACKAST called I'm Just Wild About the Ducks, and what I always mention occurs in the 3rd period, well, basically you can copy and paste that same script into today's episode when I recap that game against the Minnesota Wild. After tying the game, Connor DeWar doing that in the 2nd period, the 3rd period begins, and the Ducks, once again, just like that period, take a crap load of penalties, and once again, I have to blame Dmitry Kulikov for some inane reason, because his penalty led to the goal by Joel Eriksson Ek that made it 3-1 on the power play 9 minutes in. And earlier in the period, Matt Boldy getting a bit of a lucky bounce against Lukas Dostal would make it 2-1 at that time. Hartman got an empty netter, but it's just the discipline was so poor. The Ducks took many penalties in that game. I remember in the game against the Wild, when I recapped episode 12, they took like 7 penalties. Yeah, in this game, the Ducks took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... They took 7 penalties. I mean, come on. The script basically rewrote itself. I didn't even have to do anything in that one. Oh, and for Minnesota Wild fans, I met one on my trip actually while I was away, and I want to give him a shout out. He's a Wild fan, and we had a nice conversation about the Anaheim Ducks and other hockey, and of course his team, the Minnesota Wild, for this guy. So to Joel Zuber of Sioux City, a big shout out to you. I'm glad we got a chance to meet you while we were on our vacation. Feel free to like and subscribe to my video and channel for more wonderful content. So that's the Minnesota Wild game, and then on Friday the 23rd, as I'm coming home, the Ducks play Calgary. Surprisingly, the game wasn't too terrible, but it starts with one of the classics somehow when the Flames play the Ducks. Not so known defenseman Michael Stone completely stoned this shot on goal to make it 1-0 Flames, and as always, when he plays the Ducks, he scores a goal. The dude's never scored more than 10 goals in a season, but basically 1 goal every season that he has is against the Ducks, and I don't know how that's still a thing. He was even doing it when he was with the Coyotes. It's so weird. Mason McTavish would capitalize on a 2-man advantage style power play with a one-timer from below the circles to make it 1-1. Brett Ritchie, the brother of former Duck Nick Ritchie, would make it 2-1 Calgary off a backhander in the second period. And in the second period, I'll just add, the Ducks played like absolute crap. They were giving the Flames way too much time, and they were lucky that they only burned us in one of those situations. The Flames hit 2 posts in the second period, so the game could have gone a lot uglier, so Dostal got lucky in that situation. The Ducks would end up tying the game thanks to Jakob Silfverberg on the power play. His 5th goal of the season off of a great shot from a nice pass by Frank Vetrano. Now he has tied his goal output from last season with 5. Hopefully Silfverberg can get to at least 10. I'd love to see him do that. So the game would go to overtime. The Ducks somehow don't have a vintage third period, and they were even having other chances because the Flames took at least 3 different penalties late in the third period, and the Ducks were predictably unable to capitalize on that power play. It's a big story with this team. Golden opportunities, and you just can't capitalize on them. It's not good. And then we get to overtime. The Ducks fight as they will, but unfortunately, it would end with the defenseman, who doesn't score much at all, burning us to win the game for Calgary, Rasmus Anderson, off of a slap shot from the point. He would end up winning the game, and the final score is Flames 3, Ducks 2. The Ducks lose in overtime, but at least they got a point in the standings. I mean, standings don't mean anything really with how bad this team is, but the Ducks at least managed to play a competitive game. But for the love of God, gotta crack down on the defense. This team's defense is as effective as a twig against a raging waterfall.
That is correct.
And if you didn't think that things were going to get much easier, well, they're not going to get much easier, my friends. Because on Wednesday, it's meeting number 2 of the season with the Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, God. A team that we have 4 lifetime wins against in 5 seasons. 2 wins at the Honda Center, 2 wins in Vegas. And the Golden Knights, while they aren't quite as hot just as they were at the start of the season, they're still better than us by a country mile in basically every major offensive statistical category. 8th in goals, 8th in power play percentage conversions as compared to our 28th. They are 23rd in penalty kills compared to our 30th. Okay, so that one's not quite as bad. Face-offs, they're 5th best as compared to our 28th. They're 10th best in goals for and against compared to both of our worst in the league in each of those statistical categories. So yes, the Golden Knights are better than us by a country mile. Logan Thompson, their goalie, has lost a couple games recently, but he shut us out in his lone start against us.
Oh no!
One of those shutouts, he has 2 shutouts, and one, of course, was against the Ducks. And the Golden Knights, obviously, we know about all their talent and how good they are. Let's go over some of their players that we need to watch. Leading them in points and assists is number 20, Chandler Stevenson. Over his last 5 games, he's got 6 goals and 9 assists.
Are you sure about that?
Sorry, that's not right. 6 assists, 9 points. Sorry. Didn't say that right. Overall, 9 goals, 27 assists for 36 points in 36 games. That's a point per game player. And he's always had the tendency to hurt the Ducks. Chandler Stevenson scored a big goal on the power play in their most recent game against the St. Louis Blues. He's always there on the ice. He's a great top liner, second liner, so keep your eye on him. Riley Smith leading in goals Riley Smith for the Golden Knights leads them in the goal scoring department. He has 17 of them, only 9 assists for 26 points, so hasn't been scoring a lot of helpers, if you will. 26 points for Riley Smith is tied for 5th place with his teammate Alex Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo is a very strong offensive contributor, even as a defenseman. Only 4 goals this season, but 22 assists for 26 points in 27 games. Missed a little bit of time due to reasons. I won't discuss them. Let's also keep an eye on Mark Stone. Stone's just a great overall player. Battled injuries last year, but he seems to be back healthy this year. 15 goals and assists each for 30 points in 36 games. Keep your eye on Mark Stone wearing number 61. And let's also keep an eye on another guy that tends to hurt us a lot, Wild Bill William Karlsson, number 71. He's got 7 goals and 18 assists for 25 points in 36 games. Great for the second or third line. Keep your eye on him wearing number 71. As for the Ducks, they still have great offense. They still have some solid offensive players, but not nearly as many as Vegas. John Klingberg has got 3 goals over his last 5 games, and in those goals were scored in both the Montreal and Edmonton games. Keep your eye on Klingberg wearing number 3. He's got 4 goals and 7 assists overall for 11 points in 28 games played. Mason McTavish has been heating up over his last few games. 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points in 35 games. That's not all that bad. And Cam Fowler's a +3 in his last 5. 4 goals, 13 assists, 17 points in 35 games. Almost a point every other game when you do your math there. Troy Terry's obviously the strongest offensive contributor, leading in all of goals, assists, and points. 12 and 17 for 29 respectively when you do the math there. And second to him is Trevor Zegras still, 15 assists, and he's still got his 10 goals there, 25 points in 35 games. That's still very solid. Zegras obviously has been passing more instead of shooting. We'd like to see him shoot the puck more, but we'll have to see how Dallas Eakins decides to coach him. Ugh. Let's also keep an eye on Frank Vatrano as well. Vatrano hasn't been scoring a whole lot like he did at the start of the season. Only 15 points in 35 games, but still we know he has a great shot. So keep your eye on Frank wearing number 77. And for the predictions, do you guys really think we have much chance against the Vegas Golden Knights?
Nope.
I certainly don't. Especially with Logan Thompson shutting us out in his first career start. I'm still not impressed. That was probably scripted by the NHL because the Golden Knights seem to win everything. Secondly, the Ducks suck against the Golden Knights because narratives and Dallas Eakins. And 3, even when we have our chances, we never capitalize because we're the Ducks. So this is why I firmly believe, 1, Logan Thompson is going to shut us out again, because the Golden Knights are not going to be on back-to-backs, I don't believe. I lied. They are on back-to-backs. Well, you can call me an idiot. The Golden Knights are on back-to-backs as they're playing the Kings the night before they play us. So maybe Logan Thompson won't start. We'll have to see his teammate instead, Adin Hill, 8-3-1, and I still expect Adin Hill to shut us out because he's had one of the best starts to a season in his young career. So with that, probably Adin Hill starting. I see the Anaheim Ducks losing to the Vegas Golden Knights by a score of 7-0. All right, everybody, that is the prediction. Thank you for listening to how terrible I sound.
Yep.
And that's this episode. Remember to comment below and click the like button, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want more of my wonderful Terra-free content. Have a good day, everybody. Merry Christmas, Melakaliki Maka, Hali Makahiki Ho, and stay safe. Go Ducks!